to be flipping through my All-Star Superman trade with you today. Going to be showing you a lot of the pictures as well as some of my personal favorite parts. And I would highly recommend this book to any Superman fan. It was written by Grant Morrison, who you can tell absolutely loves this character, and illustrated by Frank Quietly. And the illustrations in here are very beautiful, as you are about to see. And the pages are extremely glossy, so I apologize if they catch the glare. Here we have a quote. "The measure of a man lies not in what he says, but what he does." Here we have our first cover. We've got Superman sitting high up in the clouds, overlooking his city of Metropolis, with the sun rising in the background. And here we have Superman's origin story, told to us in 8 words. We have a doomed planet, desperate scientists, last hope, and a kindly couple. And after all that, we get our hero, Superman. So this book is about Superman at his height, at his peak, basically, of his superhero career. We've got his cast of characters, Lois and Jimmy and Lex Luthor. Here we see Lex. I really like how he is drawn and imagined. Here's Superman coming to save the day. He's saying, "Not if I can help it." There's Lex. And yeah, really great images in here. I'm going to try not show you every page because that would take forever. But it's going to be hard not to. Here we have Clark Kent entering the scene, being very clumsy, as you can see. Hold the presses. It's funny. Here we see the Fortress of Solitude. You can see the Joker's penny. And here we see he's got copies of everybody in his life. I don't know if they're statues or robots. And his robot helpers. And his key to get into the fortress is so heavy that no one else can lift it but him. Pretty clever. I really like this part. It's a little part, but it shows you a lot about Superman's character. He's showing her around, and he's showing Lois his baby sun eater right here. And she's like, "What do you feed him?" He's like, "Suns, what else?" "Here you go, guy. Bon appetit." So that kind of shows you what kind of guy Superman is. Really funny. Here we have Lois getting to be Superwoman for a day, for her birthday. And she is ready. How exciting would that be to have Superman's powers? She's saying, bring it on. I would definitely love to have the power to fly, but having super strength would be pretty awesome as well. Here we have a Sphinx entering the scene. Superman's face. So that's his oh no face. And of course, Sphinxes always have to do with riddles. So let's see what riddle Superman has to answer to save Lois. It says, question, what happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? Superman says, they surrender. Here's Superman's I've had enough face. Here they are going to Atlantis, finishing off their day, and then ending on the moon. This is a really pretty picture. Here we have an issue with Jimmy Olsen, who is actually pretty cool. Here he's named Worst Dressed, and you can see he's got all of his costumes in the background. And he's like, what are they talking about? I look great. Really funny. So they still made him very young looking, but he's not like a young little boy. And he still does get into trouble and needs Superman's help. But it ends up that he needs to save Superman as well. Superman is affected by black kryptonite, so Jimmy has to stop him. And it's really sad too, because when it's like wearing off and he's coming down off of it, you know, he's out of his mind anyways. But he's like, I'm scared. Am I gonna die now? I can't die. I'm Superman. And I think that's just really sad. It shows you that even the strongest people are afraid. And my favorite issue is this one with Lex Luthor. He is one of my favorite villains. Okay, here he's on trial for what he did earlier. And he's saying Superman made me do it. And the judge is saying that he is found guilty on all counts of crimes against humanity, and that the sentence is death in the electric chair. And look at his face. He is so pleased with himself. It's so funny. So in this issue, Clark is going to get the scoop on Lex Luthor in jail. So here we have him being clumsy and messing up all of his inventions. It's so funny. And here we have Lex working out, telling him to feel his muscles. Those are real muscles, not like Superman's muscles. These took hard work. So it's so funny how obsessed he is. Here we have Clark having to pretend, you know, to be clumsy and fooling around when in actuality he's helping out. think it's pretty funny. His ice breath. And here we find out that Lex can escape jail at any time. He's got his little assistant dressed in a Superman costume. Really funny. And his eyebrow comes off in like all the chaos. And here he draws it back on. Some really funny moments in this book, as well as a lot of sad moments. Here's the issue with the death of Jonathan Kent. I feel like my main issue with the Man of Steel movie was that they not only got the death wrong, but I feel like they kind of messed up the whole relationship with Jonathan Kent and Clark Kent. I don't think they really quite understand it. So here we have Superman in the midst of a battle. And all of a sudden, he's battling and he can't hear his father's heartbeat. So he rushes off to try and save him. And here you can see he's flying so fast, he has this fire in his hair. He's like, I can save him, I can save everybody. And that's just really sad because Superman is really powerful and he can save everyone, but not even Superman can prevent his father from having a heart attack. Really sad. And on these next few panels, we're at the funeral, and I'm going to read what he says. He says, Jonathan Kent taught me that the strong have to stand up for the weak, and that bullies don't like being bullied back. He taught me that a good heart is worth more than all the money in the bank. He taught me about life and death. He taught me that the measure of a man lies not in what he says, but what he does. And he showed me by example how to be tough and how to be kind and how to dream of a better world. Thanks, Bob. Those are lessons I'll never forget. And here we have him after the funeral, questioning everything, saying, but what's the point of all my powers? What's the point of anything? I didn't even get to say goodbye. He said, we have a big picture. We have Bizarro, who is a funny character. And we have lots of Bizarro copies being created here. So Superman has to journey to the Underverse to save the world. There it is, the Underverse. And there, Superman meets Zabara, who also has a very sad story. I feel like the glare is getting worse as the video goes on. Okay, this is what Zabaro's saying. And as I explained to you, 1 in every 5 billion Bizarro copies is born flawed, imperfect, and aberration. That one is me. Please tell me you understand, Superman. I'm so alone here. There's no one to talk to. No shred of intellect exists with which to communicate my thoughts and feelings. Can you even imagine what it's like to be so different, so unique, so unlike anyone else? Must only Zabaro see the beauty in a sunset? Must only Zabaro search for poetry in this senseless coming and going? Really breaks your heart. Here we have opposite Green Lantern and opposite Flash. He must be super slow. Oh yeah, and here's Zabaro is asking him to look at his work. He's like, it's not much, just thoughts, really. So sad. Alright, and when Superman comes back, he finds that he's replaced with some new superheroes from Krypton, and they want to rebuild the Earth into a new Krypton. And they're being so mean to Superman, putting him down. They're being rude to all of his stuff. And here you can see they just ripped off one of the arms of his robot helpers. He's like bending down to help. And here they start beating on him and they throw him into the moon and they break the moon. They crack it right down the middle. And then they decide to repair it with a bunch of bridges. And here you can see it's all stitched up. Maybe not. So, what ends up happening is they go through a kryptonite cloud and they start dying. Superman comes up with a solution and he's saying, Superman, after all I've done, still you show me kindness. Superman says, my Earth parents taught me respect for my elders. They're not all barbarians. I'm proud to call you my kin. Krypton's great heart lives on in you. So really sad, and you really hate these guys because they're jerks, and then even they don't deserve this. And he's saying, another big adventure, my love, where you and I go, we go together. So the curse of the replacement Superman is that they're cursed to the Phantom Zone. Here we have another beautiful cover. A day in the life of Superman. He's visiting children at the local hospital. And here he decides to create a new Earth to see what it would be like to have a world without a Superman. So at 12:01 a.m., he says, so when I'm gone, when I'm not around anymore to protect them from the mad scientists and monsters and themselves, can they survive their own destructive, self-destructive urges? There was only one way to study a world without Superman. I had to make one. Deep in the tangled briar of gas clusters that forms the barely beating heart of the sickly infant universe of QWEWQ, I found a promising speck of grit. I applied a nano-optical transfusion of pure solar energy. Earth Q breathed in. There, on the hostile shores of infinitesimal oceans, life seized its moment. Now here we have a robot and he's holding Lois. She's like, don't ask. And she actually ran in the robot's path so she could get Superman's attention. On here, he's saying goodbye to Lois, and he's over-listening another conversation. Someone's saying, don't put the phone down, oh my god, I'm on my way. And here we can see a very young girl standing, or nothing. And up from behind comes Superman. He's saying, your doctor really did get held up, Reagan. It's never as bad as it seems. You're much stronger than you think you are. Trust me. It's probably like one of my favorite Superman moments. Superman going to see Lex, saying, I know there's good in you. And Lex is just trying to break through the glass. He's so mad. That's what makes Lex a great villain for Superman, in my opinion, is because Superman will never give up hope on Lex, and Lex will never stop hating Superman. Okay, meanwhile, on Earth Q, we have a creator, and he is drawing the first sketch for Superman. And he's saying this is going to change everything. Alright, so to our last few issues. I don't mean to spoil things for you, but I still have some moments to show. We've got Superman going to face a red sun. And he has to face Lex Luthor on Superman juice as well. He's all juiced up. So, let's see, he pits his Sun Eater against the red sun. A pretty good idea, I thought. Until I saw the next page where he explodes and dies. Really sad. I feel like every character I like always dies. It's like a curse. It's really not good to be my favorite character in anything, really. Okay, here we have Lex in his awesome costume. The red sun, Lex. And one of the most beautiful moments, in my opinion, is coming up. First of all, look at that face. I feel like he draws faces very well. Like he does amazing different facial expressions. We have Lex coming down off of the Superman juice, whatever you want to call it, that he was on. And he's saying, it's so obvious. I can actually see and hear and feel and taste it, and its fundamental forces are all yoked by thought alone. It's thought controlled. I can actually see the machinery and wire connecting and separating everything since it all began. This is how he sees all the time, every day, like it's all just us in here, together, and we're all we've got. So, a really beautiful moment, I think. And here we're getting to the end of our story. So, I feel like I really did show every page, even though I said I wasn't going to. So I apologize for that. Here we have some sketches. Here we can see the difference between the drawing of Superman versus Clark Kent, the different proportions. Here we have an alternate cover. And on Jimmy Olsen, he says, I don't like Victim Jimmy or Dumb Jimmy because those takes on the character don't make any sense in their context. It seemed more interesting to see what a young man would be like who could convincingly be Superman's pal, someone whose company a Superman might actually enjoy. That meant making Jimmy a much bigger character, swaggering but disingenuous, innocent yet worldly, enthusiastic but not stupid. Alright, and that's the end of our flip through. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening.